So like I mentioned before, we've been privileged with the ability to just see what our B is, right? If we start with a graph just like we saw in worksheet 20, wherever that line crosses the y-axis at a nice even point, that's going to be our B. If we have a table, anytime we have an x value of 0, that y value right under it, boom, that's our B as well. But now we're not going to have that privilege at our disposal. We're going to have to do a little bit more work if we want to figure out what our B is going to be. So we're going to modify our slope-intercept form. Anyone remember what the formula is for slope-intercept form? Has something to do with your mama.
Oh,
Yo mama's ex-boyfriend. If you ever forget, take a look. It's right up there in the front to the right of our agenda. Slope-intercept form, y is equal to mx plus b. So we're going to take that formula and we're going to modify it so that b is all by itself on one side of the equal sign as opposed to y being all by itself. So we're going to use our slope-intercept form and solve for B. So if we have y is equal to mx plus b, we're going to do exactly what we did in our warm-up to get b all by itself. We're going to split our equal sign with a nice vertical line just to separate the two sides of our equation, the left and the right. And we can see that b is not all by itself on one side. B is being added to m times x. So if we're adding mx to b, what would the opposite of adding be? Subtracting. So on both sides of our equation, we're going to subtract mx. Okay, we can't just split up the m and the x. They're stuck together, being multiplied right next to each other. So we're going to subtract that whole product over to the left-hand side. Thank you, Breezy. Good morning. We can think of equations like a scale, right? If we subtract something from one side, but we don't subtract it from the other side, our scale gets out of balance, right? So if we subtract mx from the right, we also have to do so on the left. And what happens is mx minus mx is just 0, so we can cross those out. Okay? So now on the right-hand side, all we have left is b. And on the left-hand side, we have y minus m times x. So really simple process for us to get b all by itself. It's going to be a lot easier for us today if we have b alone on one side. So the new revised formula that we're going to be using is b is equal to y minus mx. Put a nice big cloud around that so you can refer back to it. So it's no longer in the order of yo mama's ex-boyfriend. It's in the order of boy yo mama's ex. Okay, b, y, m, and x. And instead of adding, we're subtracting. So just think boy yo mama's ex, and then whatever you would think of about your mother's ex, right? So b is equal to y minus mx. This way, we have b all alone. As we'll see with our examples, we're going to get a value for m, a value for x, and a value for y, value meaning number. So we just plug these three numbers in and solve it. That's going to tell us what our b is going to be. So let's get some quick little steps written down for how this process is going to work, and then we'll take a look at some examples. First step, identify M, X, and Y. Now up to this point, we've been leaving X and Y as just X and Y in our equation. But now we're going to use those slots in our formula to plug in numbers and solve to get our value for B. So the first step is figuring out what is M equal to, what is X equal to, and what is Y equal to. X and Y are just going to represent the coordinates of any point on the line you're dealing with. Then you're going to plug all three numbers into our formula. B is equal to Y minus MX. Of course, there's nothing to plug in for B, just the M, the X, and the Y that you identified in step 1. Once you plug all those numbers in, you just got to simplify the right-hand side. We could say of the equation. So whatever our M is, we're going to multiply that by X, and then we'll subtract that product from whatever our Y is. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Trust me. Let's take a look at our first example. We're going to go through one together. Take some time for you to go through a second example, either on your own or with someone in your group. We'll work through it together. So, again, our goal is to find B. The information that we're going to get is that M is equal to 4. And this line is going through the point 1, 2. So we don't have an X value of 0 in that point, right? Our X value is 1, so that's not our Y-intercept. That's just a random point on this line. So let's go through the steps. Step 1 is identify M, identify X, and identify Y. So in this example, who can tell me what is my M equal to? 4. It says so right here. Nice and easy. M is equal to 4. Who can tell me what my X is equal to? 1. Give me a thumbs up if you agree with that here X is equal to 1. Couple people. Good. My X is 1, which means my Y must be equal to what? 2. Remember, anytime we have a coordinate pair like this, X comes before Y, just like in the alphabet. If you ever forget, sing your ABCs, you'll get to X first and then Y. So your first number is X and your second number is Y every single time. Step 1 is done. We identified M, identified X, and identified Y. Now we have to plug them in. We know that B is equal to Y minus M times X. B is going to stay the same. What was my y equal to again? 2. So we will replace y with a 2. We're going to keep that minus sign there. Now we're going to multiply m times x. What was my m that we're going to plug in? Devin? 4. And what's my x that we're going to plug in? 1. We're just getting this from step 1. Just like a 3-piece puzzle like we've talked about before. The y goes in place of the y, m goes in place of the m, x goes in place of the x. That is my step 2. I'm going to pause there for a second, make sure you're all caught up, make sure this makes a little sense. Now step 3 is just simplifying the right side of the equation. So we've got 2 minus 4 times 1. Okay, now we got to think about PEMDAS here. What's the first piece of this that we want to solve? Are we going to do 2 minus 4 first, or are we going to do 4 times 1 first? 4 times 1. The M in PEMDAS stands for multiply. So we're going to do that first. What is 4 times 1 equal to? 4. Okay. So now we've got 2 minus 4. Remember to multiply first. And then what is 2 minus 4 going to give us? 2 minus 4? 2? Close. Negative 2. If we take away a bigger number, we're going to end up with a negative. Multiply first. Subtract second. And we get b is equal to negative 2. The question was asking us to find b, and we did that. So there's our answer. b is equal to negative 2. Make sense? A little bit? Hopefully. All right, I got to flip my page over, so take a few moments to finish copying that down. All right, I'm going to set this second example up, and I'm going to give you guys like 3 minutes to work through it together and see what you guys can come up with, okay? This is going to be risky for me. This is not something I usually do, but based on you guys' feedback, I feel like it might help. The only problem is we might end up putting something wrong in our notebooks, but it'll be okay. We're going to find b. We'll correct it after. We're going to find b when m is equal to 1/2, and we're going through the point six comma 4. Does that make sense? Wait a minute. Y minus mx 4 minus. Yeah, that works. So you're going to start out. I'm going to set this up just real quick. You got to identify your m, your x, and your y. And and then you'll plug them in and solve. So we'll plug them into b is equal to y minus m times x. Good morning, Ashley. B is equal to y minus m times x. And then you'll solve it out from there. Good morning. Thank you. Were you here yesterday or no?
Yeah.
Oh, you were? Okay, cool. So, did you get an agenda?
No.
No? Okay. Here's that. And then we're taking notes right now. So yeah, just get your notebook out, and then I'll show you what you need to do. So, with the person next to you, take 3 minutes, identify your M, identify your X, identify your Y, plug them into their appropriate spots, and solve it out. 3 minutes, go ahead and start. I'll get my timer going. Ooh, sounded bad. All right, go ahead. Yes. Yes, go through the whole thing yourself. Brisa, what's up?
Well, the M is easy.
Agenda, yes. Here you go. If you're confused on what to do, ask your partner. Go through it together. Follow the steps. Good. Great start. Great job, Jackson. That was perfect. Good setup. Beautiful, Jen. There you go. 3 and 3. 6. So half of 6 would be. Good. You gotta do subtraction second. Short it. Great job. Good. So multiplying by a fraction is the same as dividing by the denominator. So what would 6 divided by 2 be? Yeah. Then you do 4 minus 3. And that gives you B. Great job. Those numbers look great. We just got to plug them in. 4 minus. What was your M again? 1/2 times whatever your X was. Yes.
So,
1/2 times 6. You don't have to. Just think about it. What's half of 6? There you go. So 6 times 1/2 gives you 3. Or sorry. 3. Then what's 4 minus 3? That's your B. Okay, if you got through that, go ahead and show me on your fingers real quick. What did you get for B?
1.
That's not on your fingers, is it, sir? That was with your voice. Good, okay. Let's figure out how we get 1 here. All right, we're going to go through these steps. I saw a lot of great work as I was walking around. What's my M in this question?
1/2.
1/2. I know fractions can be scary, but it'll make sense. What's my X in this equation? 6. And what's my Y? 4. Step 1 is just identifying the numbers. 100% of you got that from what I saw, so great job. Now we've got to plug them all in. It's going to be something minus something times something. What number is going to get plugged in for y? 4. What number is going to get plugged in for m?
1/2.
1/2. And what number is going to get plugged in for x? 6. Multiply first, subtract second. So, this is where some of the confusion started. What's half of 6?
2. 3.
Half of 6 is 3, right?
Oh, no.
So 1/2 times 6 is 3. Bring down the 4 minus equals b. This is step 3 we're doing now. Multiply first, subtract second. What is 4 minus 3? 1. Boom. That's our value for b right there. So if we wanted to plot this point, we could go one space up on the y-axis and make a dot right there. Give me a thumbs up if you were able to get that all on your own and that made sense going through that. Good. Okay. We're going to do one more example and then we'll get started. Oh, we got time. Let's say our m is -3. And we're going through the points 2, comma, you said 5? Sure. Doesn't matter what point we use, we're going to be able to find some value of b, and this is just an imaginary line, so either way works. So the slope of -3 through the point 2, comma, 5. First, we got to identify our m, our x, and our y. We're going to plug those 3 numbers in to b is equal to y minus mx. So b is equal to something minus something times something. And then we'll solve from there. So we'll take another 3 minutes with your partner or someone in your group, work through this one, see if you can get it all on your own. I'll be coming around to answer any questions and see how you guys are doing. All right, 3 minutes. Go ahead. When we're done with this. I don't want anyone leaving during notes this term. Be patient. Great job, G. That was great. How's it going? Good. -3, 2, 5. There you go. Yep, 5 goes front. Close. What happens when we see 2 minus this? Take a plus, right? Yeah, they make one big plus. Good. M is -3. What's your x going to be? Is it 2 or is it 5?
Positive 10, right? Positive 10 minus -3, right?
2. There you go. So x is equal to 2. What's y going to be? So just follow the same pattern. Y minus mx equals 5 minus -3 times 2. Now you run out of space, but set that up right here. We'll go through how that works. Let's see. Very close. So it's going to be y minus mx. Good. What would -3 times 2? What would 3 times 2? 6. And then a negative times a positive is always a negative. Good. So we get -6. Right?
You just said -6.
-6. That's just 6. Because the minus sign is there regardless, right? So we'll have 5 minus -6. And then when there's 2 minus signs next to each other,
It's addition.
there you go. Did you get it? Good. I mean, well, good that you realized what you did. That was perfect. Great job. Good. That's good. All right. Saw a lot of good stuff. I heard some revelations happen as we were working through that. So let's come back together. We'll talk about it and we'll get right to work. What's my M here? -3. Don't forget that negative. What's my X?
2.
What's my Y?
5.
So the first number that gets plugged in is what? 5. That's my Y. My M is -3. My X is +2. Not yet, but we will. And we want to make sure that we're multiplying first. So what is -3 times +2 going to give us? -6. Okay? So let me write that in. -6, right? But we still have this minus sign that we bring down. Okay? We don't want to just combine those into one minus sign. We want to write them out as 2. Because what do 2 negative signs next to each other make? What do 2 negative signs right next to each other make? One big positive sign. Okay? One big plus sign. What is 5 plus 6? 11. Not 1, right? I saw a lot of 1s, some negative 1s. B is equal to 11. All right? Questions I can answer about that example? I love seeing a lot of you guys get it all on your own as I was walking around. That means that there should be little to no problem.